Welcome to Manflow Yoga. It's yoga for guys.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Dean from Manful Yoga. Today I'm going to run you through another flow session. We're going to go through a lot of the poses that we've already gone through before, but there's going to be a lot of new variations. We're also going to do some inversions, bakasana. Let's just get into it. So first you're going to start off in a forearm plank or a dolphin plank. I'm going to do 10 breaths here. Make sure that you're reaching the crown of your head forward toward the front wall, keeping your neck in line with your back. Your butt should be a little lower than it is in this video right now. Heels should be pressed back. Forearms about a foot apart. Shoulder width distance on the mat. Arms facing forward. I'm doing about 10 breaths of this, so 10 medium to long breaths. Trying to reach your body forward, using your quadriceps to engage. And now we're going to transfer the weight to your left hand, and reach up with your right hand and go into a side plank. You can also lift your right foot off of your left foot for some increased resistance. And you're trying to reach your hips as high as possible here and opening your heart up to the side wall, the right side wall, as much as possible. You can take a lot of the pressure out of the pose by reaching higher in your right hand. And now we're going to come back to dolphin plank with your forearms pointed forward, with your forearms about a foot width distance apart from each other, parallel, and your fingers pointed toward the front wall. And we're going to do 10 more breaths in dolphin plank. Make sure that your heels are pushing backwards, that your quadriceps are engaged here, that the crown of your head is reaching forward, that you're trying to lengthen your body as much as possible. That'll really help you engage your core. And now we're going to switch. So right arm comes to mat, and you're going to reach up with your left arm as high as you can, opening your body up to the side wall, and then reach your left leg up if you can for some increased resistance. If you can't do this, just keep that left leg on top of your right leg. And if this is a little too difficult for you, you can also drop your knee so that you're just resting on your lower leg, on your leg. And now we're going to come back to plank and push back into a down dog. Just walk it out right here. And then we're going to do some core exercises here. So you're going to reach your leg back and bring your knee to right elbow, and then reach leg back up again, three-legged dog, to chest, and then reach up and back again with your right leg and bring it to your opposite elbow, so to your left elbow, and then bring it back and up again, and then exhaling, bring it forward to chest, and then inhale, bring it back up, and exhale, bring it to the outside of your right elbow. Bring it back, inhaling, and then exhaling, lower down. Now we're going to switch sides. Bring your left leg up as high as you can and bring it to your left elbow, outside of left elbow. And then you're going to inhale and exhaling, bring knee to chest or as far as you can forward, squeezing your core as much as possible. Inhale back up and bring knee to right elbow. And then inhale back up and bring your knee to chest again. And then inhale back up, and then exhale, bring your left knee to left elbow, and then inhale to three-legged dog, and then lower that leg. And now you're going to inhale your right leg, bring it to be framed by your hands, and then reach sideways and upward with your right hand, opening your body toward the side wall, keeping your left hand on the mat. Maybe bringing up to the fingertips in your left hand. Again, then you're going to come back, bring the right hand back, and come back into down dog. And we're going to switch legs. So left leg comes up now, and then left leg comes to be forward and framed by your hands. And then you're going to reach up with your left hand. Your shoulders are stacked on one another. So your right shoulder is below your left shoulder. And you're reaching and trying to extend through your left hand. Your weight is not entirely in your right hand here, it helps to take the weight out a little bit by reaching upward through your left hand. And then come back into a down dog. And we're going to look forward and then walk forward, bringing your feet to be framed by your hands, and come into chair pose for 15 breaths here. So we're going to really fire up your thighs here, really get you a nice warm up. So you're sitting back in chair pose. You can see your toes if you look down past your knees. Your biceps frame your ears. Crown of your head is reaching at about a 45-degree angle in line with your back. Trying to have as long a spine as possible. As you breathe in, lengthen your spine, and as you exhale, try and go a little deeper into the pose. Take your toes off the ground so that the weight is in your back and middle of your foot. So your feet are dorsiflexed here. And a few more breaths. Just as long as you stay in your breath, as long as you stay in control with your breath, you'll be fine. And then exhale, forward fold. Split your feet apart about 2 fist widths, and then wrap your right arm around your left elbow and your left arm around your right elbow, and come into ragdoll pose. So just let your head be a weight here, and let your upper body kind of just drag you down, and get a nice stretch in your lower back, a nice stretch in your hamstrings. For increased resistance here, for a deeper stretch, you can straighten your legs. And then you're going to let your hands come to the mat. Bring your feet back together and inhale into a half lift. Nice long half lift here. Trying to reach the crown of your head forward, nice long spine. And then come back into a plank. And then lower down all the way till your chest hits the mat. And then come to cobra pose. Flex your quadriceps. Press the tops of your feet into the ground. And try and reach your body up, upper body up. And then we're going to come into three-legged dog. Bring your right leg up and come to a low lunge. So plug your right hip back and then bring your left hip forward. Place your hands on top of your right thigh and start to open up your hips. You can apply some weight here to help open up your hips a little more. And then you're going to come into crescent warrior. So root your back foot, push up, make sure your core is engaged, frame your biceps with your head, and you're in crescent warrior now. And then you're going to frame your foot with your hands, come back into a three-legged dog with your right leg up, and then lower that leg, and bring your left leg up into a three-legged dog. And then reach your left leg forward to be framed by your hands, and come into a low lunge. So your back knee touches the ground. Flip your feet so that the top of your right foot is touching the ground, and then bring your hands to rest on your thigh. This will help open up your hips. You can apply some pressure here if you want. It's not required, just a suggestion to help open up your hips a little more. And then you're going to flip your back foot. Root your back foot, and then come up into a crescent warrior. Framing your head with your biceps, pulling your right hip forward, pulling your left hip back a little bit, and then engaging your core by slightly tilting your pelvis up. And then bring your right leg back and switch legs. And come to a crescent warrior with your right foot forward now. And we're going to go through a little progression here. So in crescent warrior, bending a little deeper into the pose here. Core's engaged. Pressing back in your heel. And now spring up into a airplane. So your hands are at your sides, palm is facing down, crown of your head pulling forward to the front of the room, back leg pressing back. Maybe you have a micro bend in your right leg. And then lower forward into needle pose, bringing your left leg up as high as possible. can bend your right knee if you want. Just trying to fold your body in. And then you're going to come into chair pose. So bring your left foot to meet your right foot. And reach up, framing your head with your biceps. Trying to sink back deeper into your hips. And then forward fold. And then come back to a front leaning rest position. Now lift your left leg up and bring your left foot to be framed by your hands and come up into crescent warrior with your left foot forward this time. Bring your left hip back into your hip socket and then pull your right hip forward a little more. Engage your core by tilting your pelvis slightly upwards and pressing in your back heel. And now get ready to spring forward and come into airplane. Hands come to sides, palms facing the ground. Your right leg is going to be pressing back, and the crown of your head is going to be reaching forward. Your chest is above your hips here. And then you're going to exhale and fold your upper body into your left leg, reaching up with your right leg. And then you're going to come into chair pose. So reach your hands up, biceps framing your head, trying to sink back deeper into the pose, making sure you can see your toes if you look down, and then forward fold. And then come back into a front leaning rest position, chaturangas, lower down, and then inhale to an up dog, and exhaling, push back into a down dog. Now your right leg is going to come up to be framed by your feet, and you're going to come into warrior one. Your back foot's going to be at about a 45-degree angle. It's going to be pointing towards about 10 o'clock. And your hips are facing forward. So a good thing to do here is actually grab your hips and tilt them a few times so that they're facing forward. And you're going to prepare for a humble warrior. So interlace your fingers behind your back and let them travel down your body, go lower, exposing your heart to the sky as much as possible. And then bring your right shoulder to the inside of your right knee and kind of let your body fold over into that gap that you have. Your legs don't change here at all. They stay the same. Make sure that you're keeping the pressure in your hands, in your arms, by squeezing your shoulders together. And then come back to a warrior one. Legs have not changed yet here. Pressing back in your back foot, making sure that the outside of your back foot is still touching the mat. And then you're going to frame your foot, and you're going to turn your feet toward the sidewall so that toes are facing sidewall, and you're going to prepare to swan dive forward. So inhale your chest up, expose your chest to the sky as much as possible, and then reach your body forward. You can bend your legs here if you need to. That'll help concentrate on the hamstrings. You want to concentrate on those in this pose. And then bring your hands to lower back and help push your body back up. And then turn your body to face the back wall now. You're in a warrior one with your right foot back. Make sure that your back of your right foot is pressed into the ground, that the outside of your foot is pressed into the ground, that you've got a nice bend in your front leg and your left leg, and that your toes are off the ground in that. And now interlace your fingers behind your back. Expose your chest to the sky as much as possible. Drop your head back so that your view is at the ceiling, and then fold your body forward into that gap. Keeping your legs the same, bringing your left shoulder to the inside of your left knee, making sure that you're keeping your legs the same as they were, as if you were in a warrior one with your body up. And then come back into a warrior one. And then turn your feet so that they're facing sides again. Inhale so that your chest is facing the wall. gaze comes to the ceiling, and then lower your head forward and trying to walk your hands out as far as possible so that you keep the integrity of a nice bend, and you're concentrating on your hamstrings and trying to keep your back as straight as possible here. And then you're going to walk your hands to the side now so that your hands are facing the front. And then you're going to come up back into Warrior One with your right leg in front and your left leg back, pointed towards 10 o'clock. Biceps frame your ears. And take a couple deep breaths here. And then you're going to lower your hands, frame your right foot, and then bring your right foot up into a three-legged dog. Lower that foot, and then inhale your left leg up, and then bring your left foot to be framed by your hands, and come into Warrior One with your left foot. So you've got a 45-degree angle in your back foot, so it's facing about 2 o'clock. Get a bend in your front foot, lift your toes off the ground in the front foot, and then interlace your fingers behind your back, squeezing your shoulders together to open up your shoulders, and then look up so your gaze comes to ceiling, opening your chest to the sky, and then come forward so that the outside of your left knee is next to your left shoulder. And then lean your body forward. You should feel a lot of pressure, a lot of the weight in your front foot now. And then you're going to come back to Warrior One. Spin so that your feet are facing the right side wall now. Inhale your body up. Gaze comes to the ceiling. Chest is exposed. And then walk your hands forward and try and get a nice opening for your hamstrings here. If you need to bend your hamstring, if you need to bend your knees here so that you can concentrate on your hamstrings, then do so. You should have a straight back here. Mine is a little arched, so I should have actually been bending my knees there a little bit. Now you're going to turn so that you're facing the back wall, and you're in Warrior One again, this time with your right leg forward and your left leg back. And your left leg should be pointing toward about 10 o'clock, toward the back wall. Toes come off the ground in the front leg. Interlace your fingers behind your back, squeeze your shoulders together, and then come into Humble Warrior with your right shoulder on the inside of your right knee. Head looking back. And trying to bring your arms as close to the ground as possible. And then inhale, come back to a Warrior One. Turn your feet so that they're facing the side wall again. Inhale, chest comes open to the side wall. Your gaze comes to the ceiling, and then come forward, reaching your hands out as far as possible. Bending your knees if you need to. If you want, you can get a little wider grip here. And then we're going to come back to Warrior One. So spin your body forward, bring your biceps to frame your head. You've got your back foot pointed out about 2 o'clock, right foot facing forward. Have a bend in your right foot. And then bring your fingers interlaced behind your back. Open your shoulder to the sky and open your heart to the sky and come forward. Your inside of your left knee should be touching your left shoulder. And then trying to bring your arms as far forward as possible while interlaced. And then you're going to come to a front leaning rest position from here. Lower down chaturangas. Inhale to an up dog. And then exhaling, push back into down dog. And you're going to come to child's pose. Let's do this for about 5 breaths. So 5 deep breaths. So walking your hands out forward, and then pressing your fingertips and your hands into the ground so that your hips are sinking closer to your heels. Your knees are at about mat width distance, and your big toe should be touching in the back. And then come forward, come into a down dog. Inhale your right foot, and then bring your right foot to be framed by your hands, and come into a warrior two. With your right foot forward and your left leg back, your arms come to shoulder level, and your right knee is trying to open up. And then you're going to come to extended side angle pose. Reach your left arm forward over your head. And then after a couple of breaths, reach your right arm up too if you want for increased resistance. Concentrate a little more on core. Inhale back up into warrior two, and then come into trikonasana. So your right leg straightens, your right arm comes as forward as possible, and then you turn your arms 90 degrees. And now you're going to come into horse pose. Not horse pose. I forgot what it's called. I'll look it up. Anyways, your hips are going to open up toward the wall as much as possible. Your feet are pointed in opposite directions if you can. And you're going to lower down into this pose. Bring your hands to prayer. That'll help you out. If you want, you can actually grab the insides of your thighs and pull them open. And stay here for about 10 breaths. And then press back up through your feet and come into a warrior two, this time facing the back wall with your left foot forward and your right foot back. Hands come to shoulder level. Hips open toward the side wall. And come into extended side angle pose. Right arm comes over your head, your bicep is over your ear. And then try and reach your left arm out here. Just make the pose a little more difficult. And then come back to a warrior two. Make sure that you're now bringing your feet to face the side wall. And then come into horse pose again. So turn your feet outward so that your toes are pointed at the top and the bottom of the mat. In opposite directions if possible. Try and open up your hips as much as possible here. Bringing your knees, if you can, facing the top and bottom of the mat. And then bring your hands to prayer and try and go deeper into the pose. As you inhale, lengthen your spine. As you exhale, go lower. And then you're going to press back up and set up for warrior two. This time with your right leg forward, facing the front wall, and your left leg 90 degrees, pointed toward the left side wall. Arms come up to shoulder length. And then windmill your arms down. Bring your right leg back up into a three-legged dog. And then lower your right leg. Now inhale your left leg up. Bring your left foot to be framed by your arms. And then come into warrior two with your left leg in front. Arms come to shoulder height. Back leg is pressing into the ground, 90 degrees, pointed toward the right wall. Hips open up toward the right wall. And then come into extended side angle pose, bringing your forearm to your left knee and your right arm over your head. And then reach out your left arm too for some increased resistance if you can. Now we're going to come back into horse pose again. So press up into your feet. You come to face the side wall. And then your right foot points toward the bottom of your mat. And then your left foot points toward the top of your mat if you can. Open up your toes as much as possible so that your hips are as open as possible. It'll help if you actually pull your inner thighs out. And then bring your hands to prayer. and lower down if you can. As you inhale, lengthen your spine. As you exhale, go lower into the pose. And now come out of that. So press up in your feet, come to standing, and then come into Warrior 2 with your right foot now in front, facing the back wall, and your left foot is pointed toward the right side wall. Arms come to shoulder length, shoulder height, and then you're going to come into extended side angle pose. So you're opening your chest up toward the side wall. Your left arm comes over your head, bicep over your head, and then you reach out your right arm as well for some increased core resistance if you would like. If that does not suit you, just stay in extended side angle pose without the arm variation. And then press back up so that your feet are preparing for horse pose. Toes face opposite sides of the mat. Right foot facing the bottom, left foot facing the top, if you can. Opening your hips up in horse pose. As you inhale, lengthen your spine. As you exhale, lower your butt down. This is a pretty challenging pose here, but it's really good for helping to open the hips, really good for helping you work on endurance. And then press back up, and then set up for a Warrior 2 with your left leg in front now, and your left toes pointed toward the front wall, and your right foot back, pressing into your back foot and your right foot equally, lifting the toes off your left foot, and then come into extended side angle pose once more with your right arm, your right bicep above your ear, and your forearm resting lightly, your left forearm resting lightly on your thigh, and then bring your left arm off your thigh and reach toward the front wall for some increased resistance. Inhale, come back to Warrior 2, and then exhale, bring your arms to frame your foot. Inhale your left leg back up in a three-legged dog, and then come back into downward dog. Now we're going to look forward, bend your knees, take your heels off the ground, and jump forward, bringing your feet to meet your hands. Inhale to a half lift, nice long spine, crown, ground your head reaching forward, neck in line with your body. And then exhale, and then inhale, come into mountain pose, rising all the way up, and then drop your hands so that you are in mountain pose with your palms facing toward the front wall. And we're going to go into tree pose now. So bring your right foot to your calf, or if you can, bring your right foot to your thigh, just as long as you're not pressing into your knee here. That's the important thing. And you're going to just work on balance here. You can close your eyes if you want. It's a little harder that way, a little more beneficial. This is a very meditative pose. Hands are at prayer. And you're going to switch legs now. So let your right foot drop to the mat. Bring your left foot off the ground. And press your left foot into your right calf, inner right calf. Or again, you can also bring it up to your thigh, as long as you're not touching your knee. And then bring your hands to prayer. Now you're going to lower your left foot. And then we're going to go into a second set now. So I'm demonstrating here. You can bring your right leg into your right foot into your left thigh. If you can do that and it's not too uncomfortable, go for it. Otherwise, you can hook your left shin on the top. You can hook your right shin on the top of your left leg, and then kind of press into that. So press your shin into your thigh to help open your hip up a little more in the right, and then dorsiflex your right foot, and then extend your arms. This is what tree pose is about growing your tree. And I'm going into an extended form here, and you can reach your arms forward. If you can touch the ground, then you can go a little deeper into this pose. So you're going to drop down so that you're balanced on just your left foot. Your toes are going to be on the ground. Your heel is going to come off the ground, and your right leg remains where it is, locked on top of your knee. Not on top, but right above your knee. And then come back up if you're in this. Bring your hands back to prayer, and let your right foot come to the ground. Now you're going to bring your left foot off the ground, root in your right foot. You can either bring your foot to your calf or to your thigh, or you can also bring your lower leg so that it's hooked over on the top of your right knee, dorsiflexed, and then grow your tree. So extend your arms out as much as possible. And then if you want, you can come into the extended variation. So you're going to reach your hands down, touch the ground, and then use your hands to guide you down. And then if you want, once your hands are on the ground, you can slowly start to bring your hands off the ground so that you're balancing just on your right foot. Your heel's a little off the ground. And then slowly work your hands together in prayer. Make sure that you have a nice long back here, though. If you're hunched over in your back, work on straightening your back and then bringing your hands to prayer. Again, this is just optional. This is just for fun. You don't need to do that. If you're content in being in tree pose, the non-extended version, just with your hands extended, standing on one foot, that's fine. Now you're going to come back to tree pose with your hands at prayer, and then lower your left leg, and then come to mountain pose. Inhale, come to extended mountain pose, and then forward fold. Exhale, bringing your hands all the way down to the ground, bending your knees a little bit, and then inhale into a half lift, lengthening your spine, and then exhale, come back into a down dog. Now we're back in down dog, and we're going to try to have some fun in Bakasana here, crow pose. So here you can see me jumping into crow pose. You don't have to do that. You can just come to a tripod. Now, objective of Bakasana is to straighten your arms entirely, and then so you're using the core strength just to keep your legs up in the air, resting. So here I'm actually really not using too much upper body strength. It's really all in the core. And then here's another variation. You can bring your knees as close to your armpits as possible, and then use your triceps as a shelf with your hands about 1 foot apart. And then you can shoot back into a low plank, and then lower down chaturangas, inhale to an up dog, and then push back into down dog. So that was just some fun in Bakasana. Now you're going to come to a tabletop position, lower your chest all the way to the mat, and reach your arms forward, reach your legs back all the way, and let your face come to the mat. Now we're going to go into lotus on the ground. So bring your arms behind you, interlace your fingers, squeeze your shoulders together, squeeze your legs, bring your legs off the ground. Try and bring your arms off your butt so that they're just, the sheer force of squeezing them together brings them off the ground so they're unsupported. And then reach your chest up, crown of your head comes forward, lengthen your body as much as possible, and then lower down with your palms open, extended to the sky, and your right cheek or left cheek on the mat. You can wiggle your legs back and forth, windshield wiper style, to help relieve some of that tension that you have in your lower back. And we're going to come to a second set. So interlace your fingers behind your back, squeeze your shoulders together, and then push up, reaching your legs back, reaching your head forward, trying to lengthen your body as much as possible, keeping your feet about a foot apart, and then lower down, exhale. This time your opposite cheek comes to mat, and you're just resting. Now we're going to come into bow pose, so bend your legs so that you were going to do kind of like a double quadricep stretch while on the ground. And you're going to grab the outside of your ankles, keep your knees close together, and then push into your hands with your foot. The strength of this pose comes from your quadriceps, comes from you pressing your feet into your hands, and your body just kind of does the rest, trying to bring your legs as high as possible. So pushing into your hands, reaching up, and then come out of the pose. Bring your right cheek to the mat, palms facing upward, breathing deeply. And we're going to do one more set. So bring your feet back now, bending your knees, grabbing the outsides of your ankles with your hands. And on an exhale, you're going to push up into your second set. Reaching head forward, trying to reach your upper body up, pushing your hands, your feet into your hands. Again, that's where all the power comes from in this pose. And then lower down. We're going to come into some child's pose here, just 5 breaths. Press your hands into the mat, trying to get your hips as close to your heels as much as possible. And trying to provide some relief to your lower back here. So now you're going to come into with your feet forward, lying down on your back, with your head toward the back wall, your feet toward the front wall, and you're going to come into a bridge pose. So your hands are at your side, you're bringing your hips up as high as possible, pressing into your legs, squeezing your shoulders together, interlacing your hands under your body, and the weight of this pose is in your shoulders, not on your neck. So try and reach your chest up as high as possible, turning your heart open, and then lower down. We do one more set of this. So you can either do bridge pose again, or you can go into wheel pose. So press up. If you're in wheel, make sure that your knees are close together, that they're not far apart, that they're about a foot apart, maybe, that you're squeezing your knees together. That'll help protect your lower spine. If you want some more challenge, if you want a bigger challenge, you can straighten your legs here. You can come to your toes if you want. Or you can walk your hands closer to your feet. And then lower down, letting every vertebrae hit the ground one at a time. Lowering down slowly. And then bring your knees into your chest, just for some relief. And now we're going to do some core. So reach your legs up so that they're at a 90-degree angle with your body. So your body is an L right now. And your heels are reaching up, pressing up, so your feet are dorsiflexed. And you're going to just lower your legs as slowly as possible. 10 deep breaths. Making sure that your legs are straight and making sure that you're pressing your lower back into the ground. As soon as you feel your lower back come off the ground, press it into the ground. And if you can't, just keep your legs where they are and work on that core strength there. So lowering your feet so that they're about 6 inches off the ground. Holding them there for a few breaths. Making sure that your feet are still dorsiflexed and straight. And then you're going to bring them up just as slowly as you brought them down on 10 breaths. Making sure that your lower back is pressed into the ground and that your heels are pointed upward, toes are dorsiflexed. And then once you come back to that L shape that you had, let your legs come down. Take a few deep breaths. And we're going to come into whatever you want. We're going to do, this is just for fun. So you can do a headstand here. You can do a handstand. You can do shoulder stand. You can do some push-ups. Just do something that you think will benefit you right now. What I'm doing right now is called Dragonfly. And if you want to try this, that's why I'm putting it in here. Just something that you can challenge yourself with. So you're going to walk your hands behind you as far as possible. And then you're going to try and use your triceps as a shelf here for your legs. And then place your upper thighs, your back of your upper thighs on top of your triceps and try and raise your feet off the ground. So again, reaching my hands back as far as possible, trying to get my thighs on top of my triceps, and then slowly reaching my feet off the ground. This is called Dragonfly. Involves a lot of core strength. And, just having fun with it. So come out of whatever pose you were in. Might have been headstand, might have been handstand. You might have tried the Dragonfly. And then come back into a down dog. Just walking out a little bit. Feeling the difference between when you started and when you ended. And how you feel now. We're going to do a seated forward fold. So reach your hands up above your head. Your feet are pointed forward, toes to the ceiling, dorsiflexed, and reach your arms forward on an exhale. Trying to bring your chest as far forward as possible, providing some relief to your lower back and your hamstrings. And at the end, if you want to try and bring your head to touch your knee, go for it. Just go a little deeper into the stretch. And then come out of that. And we're going to do some seated twist. So bend your right leg and then bring your left leg over your right knee so that your knees are stacked. Inhale your right hand up. Use your left hand at the back. And then bring your right elbow over your left knee and start to open your back a little bit. Don't press into the knee with your hand here. You want to use your core strength to try and twist your body. You don't want to use your hand as a crank here. It's just going to make your back crack. That's not going to do anything for helping to open up those muscles. And then come out of the pose. And we're going to come to the opposite side now. So now your left knee is bent on the ground. Your right leg comes over your left leg so that your right knee is above your left knee. Inhale your left hand up. Use your right hand on the ground. And then bring your left elbow to the outside of your right knee and start to open your back up using your core strength to do so. Don't use your elbow pressing into your knee to open your back. That does nothing for you. So now we're just going to do some more relief postures. So reach your feet out in opposite directions and then reach your hands forward. Make sure your feet are dorsiflexed. And you can use your core here to squeeze your body forward so you can get a little more length in your hands and get your hands a little closer to the front wall. Get your chest a little closer to the ground. Dorsiflex your feet, that also helps. You can also squeeze your quadriceps. And then come out of the pose. So from here, you're going to cross your legs. Go into your prayer pose. Come into meditation. Take a few deep breaths. Think about what you did today and be happy with yourself. Be content with what you were able to do. And bowing forward, namaste. So thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned some new stuff. You can check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/manfulyoga. You can follow me on Twitter at manfulyoga. You can also look at my website at manflowyoga.wordpress.com or follow me on YouTube at youtube.com/manflowyoga. Namaste.